is, everyone? It's your boy Baker Maker, aka D. Ansley, and I'm here to give you some true shit. So, yesterday, news broke out about Henry Cavill leaving Warner Brothers as its flagship hero of the DC Extended Universe, Superman. So, today, I want to go over my opinion on the current status of the DCEU, as well as my overall opinion on the DCEU and basically my whole perspective on everything. So here's the thing. Now, the DCEU has been kind of in a tough pickle for quite some time. I want to say even going all the way back to its very first film, which was Man of Steel, back in 2013. Now, keep in mind something. Prior to that, DC didn't really unlike Marvel, where Marvel they've pretty much been building up their whole continuity, their own universe. The Marvel Studios basically been building up since 2008, with Iron Man and then the Incredible Hulk. Ever since then, Marvel has been pretty much growing as far as from a movie franchise. Prior to that, Marvel was always having all these other companies make their movies, produce their movies. In 2008, they just started making their own films. And like I said, Iron Man, the Hulk, Thor, Captain America, all these movies, they've been producing them themselves, and they've been building off of that, leading up to eventually all the characters teaming up in the Avengers in 2012. And then ever since then, they went on to, like I said, become a billion dollar franchise at that point, gaining tons of praise from critics and fans alike. And with DC, meanwhile, with DC for many years, in fact, they've been pretty much all their their success has been built on. When it comes to movie, I mean, as far as Hollywood, has been based on Batman and Superman movies. That's pretty much been their best movies they've made was Batman and Superman, and for the longest time they only relied on those two, which they are two of the most iconic characters in comic books. All the other characters like Flash and Green Lantern, they didn't even have movies back. They haven't even had movies still to this day, with the exception of Green Lantern, of course. And then we all know how that turned out. That became a box office flop as well as a critical flop as well. But DC, at some point like I said, eventually they started wanting to milk off the popularity that Marvel movies have been having ever since 2008. And they decided, after the Christopher Nolan Batman trilogy ended, they decided, hey, let's make our own universe. Let's have a series of films based on these solo films, based on these characters, and then leading up to them teaming up. Let's do. Hey, if it worked for Marvel, why can't it work for us? For us, right? Oh boy. And ever since then, like I said, they decided to have Superman, the Man of Steel, be the first movie, starring Henry Cavill as Superman. Now, Henry, to me, and that's one of the things that makes this whole news about him quitting Superman kind of very unfortunate, very sad to me, because honestly, I thought he did a decent job as Superman. He's not my favorite Superman. To me, the best Superman will always be Christopher Reeves, of course. But I think he did a decent job, especially in this modern Superman. I think and it's just that, sure, I've had issues with the way his character's been written these past few films. Each film he's been in, with the exception of Justice League, because Justice League, to me, I felt like they finally got the character right. Henry Cavill finally felt like Superman to me. He finally embodied what, at least from my perspective, what Superman should be. You know what I'm saying? Or is, and everything. Because prior to that, he was just kind of I don't know, they're trying to make him into an emo, I don't know, even more emo than Batman, and that's saying something. But yeah, it's kind of sad, especially considering how this is. I still feel like it's way too early. We just got the formation of the Justice League, And like I said, finally, I felt like with that movie that if the franchise finally got its groove, but and now because of politics and behind the scenes shit, we just lost our big player, which is very unfortunate at this point. And not just that, there's been here's hearsay. For months there's been going on saying that we might lose Ben Affleck as well. Ben Affleck might be leaving as well, be joining Henry, which that would really hurt the franchise. That pretty much just kills it right there. Because I don't know if you guys keep up with the news or not, but many articles always saying that at one point there was going to be a Batman solo film starring Ben Affleck, and he was going to be directing the movie. But then, but ever since then, there's always been like back and forth saying that he's leaving the project, and then saying that he's coming back. Or at one point he was like, you know what, he's no longer directing the movie, but instead he'll be just starring in the role. But then at some point saying that he quit the role, and there's people saying that he pretty soon he might be leaving the DCEU, which, like I said, it really it's really bad. It sucks, because to me, Ben Affleck as Batman has been like, at least for me, was like the saving grace of the whole Batman v Superman movie. I was like, the best damn thing about Batman v Superman was Ben Affleck's performance as Batman. In my opinion, he might be the best. Prior to that movie, I would have said, if you asked me who my favorite Batman actor was, live action wise, it would have been like Michael Keaton. Ever since the Tim Burton movies, But to me, I just feel like he truly embodied what Batman really is, and how brutal and precise he was in his fighting, and how much of a good detective, that type of stuff. He was a great Batman, Yeah, he killed people, but guess what? Michael Keaton killed people too. Michael Keaton's Batman killed people too. People tend to forget about that, but that's beside the point. It was really bad. It really. But going off of what I'm trying to say is that it's just that ever since Man of Steel, pretty much every movie that DC has put out since, like I said, with Man of Steel, Batman v Superman, and all these others, with the exception of, say, like Wonder Woman, every movie with the exception of that has been given like very, very mixed reception. It has really pretty much split the fandom, split the crowd. There's those who either like the movie or love the movie, or those who hate the movies. Pretty much, each have gotten mixed reception from the critics and fans alike. Pretty much, Wonder Woman is pretty much the only DC movie as of late that's been able to please the majority of the audience. Other than that, all the other films have pretty much failed at that. They've all done. They haven't really done so well as far as from a critical reception. You know what I'm saying? And there's a lot of reasons for that. Now, me personally, in my own honest opinion, there hasn't been they haven't released a bad movie, in my opinion. None of these movies that come out since Man of Steel, none of them have been bad to me. Like, I liked Man of Steel. I liked Batman v Superman. Granted, it was a disappointment for a couple of reasons. I enjoyed Suicide Squad. I think Suicide Squad was actually better than Batman v Superman. I enjoyed it a lot more than I did in Batman v Superman. Granted, none of these movies, in my have been bad, in my opinion. None of them been perfect, but I didn't think they were horrible. And I really did enjoy Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman's got to be like up there. Honestly, if you were to ask me my top 10 or top 15 list of favorite superhero movies, I would put Wonder Woman on that list. I don't know where I would rank it among people, but I actually enjoyed Wonder Woman more than I enjoyed Spider-Man Homecoming. And you know how much I love Spider-Man. Those of you who follow me on social media, you know how much I love Spider-Man. But yeah, and then and like I said, I enjoyed Justice League. I don't think it's nowhere near as bad as everybody. I don't think any of these movies are or anywhere near as bad as a lot of people say they are. You know, and I just feel like the reason why, like I said, there's been multiple reasons why the DCEU has been kind of in a rut as of late. Is for a couple of reasons. One, because of the politics and the disagreements, because everyone has their own, like all these producers and writers, they have their own ideas on how the story should be and stuff like that, and they keep all these damn disagreements. It's part of that. It's part of the reason why Ben Affleck, you know, the talk about Ben Affleck replacing Ben Affleck as Batman been going around because of that, because of shit like that, you know. And it's really unfortunate because, and here's the thing: the people who dislike these movies, I get it, and I can understand why they hate the movie. The reason why these movies have been getting as much flack as they have been is because, see, the thing is, all these movies, like I said, none of them, in my opinion, have been bad movies. Granted, I have a couple. There, you know, many issues with each one. You can point out each flaws and stuff like that, but I think the reason is overall they've been kind of, with the exception of Wonder Woman, of course, have been average at best. Been average films as far as quality goes. And I think that's been the big problem. And here's why. This is the reason why I feel like this has been a really big problem is because, think about it. Like Batman v Superman and Justice League. Two very anticipated movies. Big movies. Movies that us diehard comic book fans been looking forward to happening for like ever since we were little kids. Seeing Batman and Superman interact in the same film, in a live action film for the very first time, that was a big deal. For, like I said, if you grew up watching Batman the animated series and Superman the animated series and seeing those two and then seeing them, and then they did eventually have like a little special where they did cross over with one another in an animated special, which was awesome. So the idea of seeing them two together in a live action film on the silver screen seemed like a dream that would probably wouldn't happen, because like ever since, it's been a long time coming, and it finally did. And unfortunately, it did not live up to the hype. It didn't live up to the expectations. And the thing is, I think the reason why people don't seem to really have a big problem with these movies is because every one of these movies every one had the potential to be so much better than what they were. Batman v Superman had so much potential. Justice League had so much potential as well. Even though, granted, like I said, I didn't really felt that much disappointment from Justice League. Although I will admit it could have been so much better than what it was. The thing was with Justice League was, unlike Batman v Superman, my expectations at that point was kind of very low. At that point, I was kind of like, whatevs. I wasn't very excited for Justice League because of how disappointed I was with Batman v Superman. Batman v Superman is just like, it had so many issues, so many problems. I ended up being bored, and and the problem was that that movie itself was focusing so much on trying to build up to the Justice League and actually tell us a good story. And I think that what the big problem with that movie was. In fact, I would even go so far as saying that's the big problem with this entire franchise, is that they're so worried about competing with Marvel so much that they've been doing such a terrible job of building up this universe, making us care about these characters. They're just using you love Batman v Superman? Well, guess what? They're in these movies. You love Wonder Woman? Yeah, these are all in the movies, instead of developing and giving us reason to care about these characters. And I think that's been a big problem. Unlike with Marvel, where they took their time of developing these characters and allowing the actors to know their characters as well and really become the characters. And I think that's the DCU has been really struggling with. And Justice League, I felt like they finally were in the right direction, because Henry finally felt like Superman. Batman had become a much lighter character, and kind of a leader in some ways. Gal Gadot is basically Wonder Woman at this point. She did such a good job in her solo film. So I think everything was coming to place. My only issue was like, as long as like, the behind the scenes stuff doesn't hurt, doesn't get in the way, which unfortunately seems like it has. Because of that, Henry's out apparently, which sucks. It really, really sucks because of shit like this. It's kind of like reminds me of what 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 happened with the with the Amazing Spider-Man franchise, where they spent so much time trying to build up on their own universe with this trying to build up to the Sinister Six and stuff. Even though I enjoyed the movies and even though I enjoyed Amazing Spider-Man 1 and 2, there were a couple of things that kept those films from being better than what they were. A couple of things behind the scenes that, Sony Productions having their own agendas and stuff like that. And that kind of hurt the films in some ways, especially as far as marketing goes. And then, of course, because of politics, the franchise, Andrew Garfield, who was my favorite Spider-Man, ended up getting canceled. Well, end up getting fired from the job, and then they basically just canceled the whole project altogether. Got me, and one of the things that really pissed me off still to this day is the fact that they got me so invested in the story, and then for them to just cancel it all abruptly like that. And that's one of my biggest fears about the DCEU. They got me so invested into everything. These characters like Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman, Ben Affleck as Batman, and Harley as Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn. That all these projects, all these ideas that might that are planned to happen might not happen at all. Because ever since, because people have been saying, well, they might as well just restart the whole thing. I think that'd be a terrible idea because it just make all these movies a total waste. It make all these years, ever since 2013, ever since Man of Steel, a complete waste in my opinion. You got us invested in this story to the point where like, oh, you're just gonna end it abruptly because of some behind the scene crap, and that would really suck. And I feel like if DC just gets their shit together, we'd actually have a more structured franchise. One of the biggest problems that Warner Bros. Been struggling is they've been very inconsistent with their decision making and stuff like that. Honestly, at this point, I'm just kind of like whatevs. It is what it is. We'll just have to wait and see what happens. Like I said, I think the biggest problem with these movies is that they've been very inconsistent on what direction they want to take the story in, and that's been one of the biggest issues. And these movies have been kind of average at best. And when you got a franchise, a studio that's been going on, a well established studio, you expect greatness from this studio, but unfortunately, we haven't gotten that. We really haven't. And that's why a lot of people have been disappointed with these movies. And I can see why. So if you were to tell me you hate Batman v Superman for various reasons, I can't even blame you. Because even I have my own gripes with the movie too. Even though I liked it, I can't blame for someone for hating it though. And the same thing with these other movies. Even though I enjoyed Suicide Squad, I thought it had a very weak story with a weak villain. And there was many cuts that was made that made the certain scenes feel kind of either out of place or awkward. There's all these other stuff that keeps these movies. Each and every one of these movies had the potential to be so much better than what they were, but unfortunately, they just end up just being average, mediocre films at best. With the exception of, like I said, Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman was a very good was an exception. And that's why that's like one of the few things I'm really looking forward to is its sequel, as well as Shazam. Not really. I don't care what you say. There's no way I'm paying my hard-earned money to go see Aquaman. Don't try. It ain't happening. Anyways, I just wanted to get my own thoughts on the whole thing. It is unfortunate to see Henry Cavill leave because I actually enjoyed his Superman. And I felt like he was finally getting into the groove of the character and everything. So and we might end up seeing Ben Affleck do the same thing in his character, which would really suck. And all those talks about those spinoffs, those Harley Quinn spinoffs, like the Sirens and the Harley Quinn and Joker thing, that might not happen either if things continue the way they are as far as like what goes on behind the scenes with these producers and stuff like that, and all these damn disagreements. It seems like no one can be on the same page. I think that's been another big issue the DCEU's been struggling with. Hopefully they if they can get their shit together. Despite how bad things seem right now, I honestly still think that they still have the time. There's still time to make things better. There's still time to find structure into this franchise. With these upcoming films going forward, with Shazam, with Aquaman, and Wonder Woman 2, and all these other movies they got planned up, there's still time to get things popping. You know what I'm saying? There's still time. I don't want to. I still feel there's still hope, and Justice League gave me hope. And I just hope that things turn out good, and that we can actually have a film where majority of the audience can agree that the movie was actually decent or good. I hope this. That's what I want at the end of the day. It was a great DC movie. We hadn't had a really good DC movie in a long time. Like, with the exception of Wonder Woman, we hadn't had a good one in quite some time that I can give like an 8 rating. But we'll just have to wait and see. What do you guys think? You agree with me? Disagree with me? What are your thoughts on the DCEU as a whole? And what's your favorite movie out of all the movies that have come out since the inception of Man of Steel? Which one's your favorite? And who's your favorite actor and stuff like that? Just comment below. And if you like this video, be sure to like and subscribe for more content on this channel. And that's it. Stay beast.